So it seems to be Valve have just done the impossible, that being the Paris Major update. But anything is possible according to Gaben. Just when some thought the Paris Major wouldn't be played, the update would be delayed possibly until Monday, which is the start of the Major on the 8th. Late Thursday night over here in North America, Valve gave us the last CSGO Major update, which included the stickers, viewer pass, and of course the souvenir packages, which is also quite possibly the last big update before fully going into CS2, meaning the last big update on Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And I gotta say, as much hate as it's getting, we're going out with a bang. But with us now having 3 extremely similar Major stickers 3 years straight, players have questions and so do I, which I'll try my best to answer. And some of these might be why Valve pretty much did copy pasta, the CS community panic selling, how you can profit from this catastrophe, and lastly, I want to end things on a good note. Now today's video sponsor is of course Skins Monkey. Skins Monkey is currently the easiest and also fastest way you can buy, but most importantly trade your CSGO skins. All you have to do is make sure you have your trade link, and on your first trade, if you have a leftover balance, it goes towards your current balance that can be used the next time you end up trading skins. It has 3 ways you can inspect, but most importantly has a very in-depth inspect feature that you can see corners on a karambit for an example that you can't really see otherwise unless you have the item in game. If you end up topping up your balance, make sure to use promo code Mando to get up to a 35% deposit bonus and a free $5 on the first trade. Now the very first thing I want to discuss is of course panic selling. Now most players are very surprised, but what I'm shocked by is how many people are actually doing so, but not really, if that makes any sense. Even if these stickers didn't look anywhere similar, they were completely different, people would have still sold off Stockholm and Antwerp whether you like it or not. Whenever new Major stickers come out, the past couple of years, even if they've been pumped very high, they always tend to go down. People always sell older investments, this goes with cases and skins as well, to buy these newer stickers. And during the 75% off sale, we might see this go a little further. But it's actually not as bad as I thought, though it's not even 12 hours later, but I think there's some good points for that. Stockholm and Antwerp, yes, have taken a hit, as you can see here. The mouse hollow from Stockholm was $120. Now it's $65, had an all-time low of $50. And then as you can see, there's a pretty huge price drop right there, all the way down to $50. Now it's back up to $65, but I still think there's some hope. As it goes for Paris Major stickers, they look really good. But copium or not, they look different from Stockholm and Antwerp in a good and also bad way. That is also somewhat innovative, which I guess is good for Valve. And well, what I mean by that, let's take the Stockholm mouse hollow versus the Paris mouse hollow. They look very similar, but there are some key differences, especially on a weapon and while you inspect it in game. That being, the Paris stickers don't have a black outline or shadow on the outside of them when Stockholm and Antwerp do. Now this could be something Valve changes in the future, just like how they did with Rio autographs where they couldn't really see them properly, so they added a little stroke in the background so you could see it a little more clearly. Now with everyone holding Stockholm, Antwerp, and even older investments right now that are panicking, there's actually a couple things we can check up on and maybe help you feel a little more confident with what's going on. And well, that being, we have history. You see, when Antwerp 2022 came out, this exact same thing happened to Stockholm 2021. It was a copy pasta situation, though this is a little different because it's the 3rd iteration in a row. The same circumstances are still there. Stockholm crashed, and then 2 to 4 weeks later, it recovered and began the price hypes and spikes we saw up until yesterday. Now, a big question many people have is, will these stickers, that being the team themselves, but also the players, return back to normal or recover whatsoever? I'm going to split this into 2 different answers. Firstly, I want to note teams and players that haven't made it in and won't be playing in the Paris Major. I think it's safe to say these are going to be a decent investment, even though they did just dip, and that goes with a lot of the market. Right now, it might be hard for some people to understand or really see it because they lost a lot overnight, but it's actually a pretty good opportunity to pick up some new items. And it's not just for Major stickers and capsules either. You can go into some liquid skins and cases that have just dropped. As it goes for the main team hollows from Stockholm and Antwerp, and even something like Rio. Stockholm, I think, is going to be fine. But we have to remember, this happens every year. But it's also a little different. Yes, this is the 3rd time in a row, but this is also the last Major for almost an entire year. In that time period, if I had to guess, Stockholm and Antwerp's quantity, at least Stockholm, is going to get eaten up. It's going to be unboxed, it's going to be applied, and people are probably going to buy these stickers in the long run of things. Before Paris, Rio was Stockholm's little brother, at least for an investment, and from a crafting perspective, like the mouse. I think now Paris is going to take that spot. Something like the mouse that pretty much just got its price cut in half, I believe will eventually rise, but not back to its original state, at least anytime soon. We briefly discussed this in yesterday's video, right before the update came out, and a couple different possibilities and scenarios that would play out, and this was one of them, where it's going to have a new normal price. Instead of $120, it's already up past its all-time low. I believe we could be sitting at $80, $90, possibly $100 in the next 2 or 3 months, but that's for the long term. Another thing to note, which I would say it's way too early to tell, is if these things are going to be mass embarked, crafted with, and invested in, the community could turn to older stickers that'll feel a little bit more rare or special. But how much do I feel like that's actually going to happen? I'm not so sure, because because some of these look extremely good and a little too good, and I gotta say, I like quite a few of them myself. Now, some big questions. How can you profit from this catastrophe? Well, number one, don't panic sell anything. People for Stockholm have already learned this the hard way for the first time. Now they're doing it second, and prices are already up from what they were just last night. Now, could they go a little more south? Absolutely. It's the risk versus reward, and that's kind of what you're in with a game like Counter-Strike. You have to remember, Stockholm and somewhat of Antwerp are still very rare, and like we discussed earlier, the market's going to return to a new norm. Not as high as it was before, but something slightly lower. And lastly, there's a couple things I want to note. If you unbox any of these stickers, I would personally sell them right away. The more people unbox these things, especially before and during the 75% off sale, if we look back on history, prices always drop, and I would just wait for the 75% off sale to go into what you want. And what specifically, well, we don't really know at this point because it just came out. And of course, now for something positive. If you've missed the past couple of majors, one for an investment, but also most importantly, crafting, and you don't want to pay these insanely high prices in something like Stockholm or Antwerp, or even something like Rio for what it was, this is something I did back in Stockholm. Pick a team or two and base an entire inventory off them for very cheap. This could be for hollows, glitters, golds, autographs, whatever you want. This is, of course, if you play the game on a daily basis, maybe weekly. You don't want to break the bank, but also right now it gives you a very good opportunity to get stickers for cheap and make crafts that you want that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise in the next few months. And over time, just like most other things, they'll rise up in price, so those crafts will be more valuable. Not really for an investment, but mostly just for you as the player. Now let me know what you guys think down below. This update was pretty hectic. I also just want to thank you guys for the support on the most recent videos. It's been absolutely crazy. If you guys have made it this far in the video, why don't you leave a comment from End on Monday? I'll get to that very soon. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay positively sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.